Our immunity is a part of our daily health. Do you ever wonder what affects it? The immune system's blueprint. What impacts our body's defenses? Immunity is our body's way protecting itself from and fighting off pathogens such as cancer, bacteria, and virus cells. Our body initially has what's called our first-line defense, which consists of mucous membranes and body secretions such as snot and saliva. Additionally, our immune system is broken into two parts: our innate immunity system, which produces nonspecific, general response, and our adaptive immunity, which are specific responses to antigen that relies on memory. These rely on dendritic cells that regulate T lymphocytes to fight off pathogens. The way our immune system works when exposed to foreign substances is complicated. In simple terms, sentinel cells are activated initially, which leads to cytokine release. Adhesion molecules then bind to the surface of blood vessels, where leukocytes adhere and invade. An important thing to note is that if these functions are defective or damaged, it can lead to failure in identifying pathogens quickly and lead to increase in susceptibility of diseases. Factors that can affect our immunity system include a whole variety of issues such as sleep, diet, stress, and alcohol abuse. Let's look into them. Stress can have an impact on our immunity. However, the impact depends on the type of stress we are experiencing. There are two types of stress: short-term and long-term or chronic stress. Short-term stress is experienced when a stressor causes a spike in cortisol, and then after the stressor, the body returns to normal. For example, when we have a presentation or a test. However, with chronic stress, the body adapts to these high levels of cortisol, and the body does not return to normal. Chronic stress can be experienced when someone is experiencing health issues or financial struggles. Short-term stress is beneficial to our immune system. The short-term cortisol release suppresses inflammation in our body temporarily. Our immune system needs inflammation to be able to work properly. However, too much inflammation can have adverse effects on our health. The release of cortisol also increases the amount of cytokine being produced, which are the signaling molecules of our immune system. The immune system is more efficiently able to communicate to fight off antigens because of cytokines. Short-term stress also activates natural killer cells and macrophages, which are both important in fighting antigens. Because they're both increased with short-term stress, it boosts our immunity. On the other hand, long-term stress negatively affects our immune system. Because of the body's adaptation to high levels of cortisol, our body has sustained amounts of inflammation, which is negative to our immunity. Chronic stress decreases our number of lymphocytes. If lymphocyte quantity is decreased, our immune system cannot fight off pathogens. Long-term stress also has a negative effect on cytokines. With long-term stress, cytokines balance in our immune system is shifted from type 1 cytokines, which are pro-inflammatory, to mainly type 2 cytokines, which are anti-inflammatory. This shift suppresses inflammation long-term in our body, which isn't good for the immune system. Stress can also impact our immunity in less direct ways, like sleep. When we are experiencing stress, it often impacts our sleep. When our sleep is decreased, immunity also decreases. Sleep is important for our adaptive immunity. Sleep is the time that lymphocytes move from our bloodstream into tissues and lymph nodes to fight infections. Without sleep, our body has a hard time fighting infections. Another way stress can indirectly impact our immunity is through vaccines. A lot of vaccines rely on the body's ability to produce antibodies and remember how to fight the antigen that the vaccine is made for. However, chronic stress reduces our lymphocyte production, making vaccines less effective under chronic stress. Processed food significantly impacts our immune system by promoting inflammation and disrupting gut health. Starting with advanced glycation end products, or AGEs, these are harmful compounds that are formed when high sugar and refined carbohydrates are consumed. They are especially present in foods that are cooked at high temperatures, such as fried items. AGEs bind to specific receptors on immune cells which activate the immune system and trigger the release of pro-inflammatory cytokines, such as TNF-alpha and IL-6. This chronic inflammation weakens our immune defenses. Next, let's talk about omega-6 fatty acids, which are commonly found in fried and processed foods. While omega-6 fats are essential in small amounts, in order to aid the immune system when needed, excessive intake of these fats lead to the production of pro-inflammatory molecules which worsen systemic inflammation. Lastly, emulsifiers, which are food additives that are used to improve texture and extend shelf life in products like ice cream, salad dressings, and baked goods, disrupt the gut microbiota. Emulsifiers thin the protective mucus layer of the intestines, which increases intestinal permeability, allowing bacterial toxins to leak into the bloodstream, which compromises immune function. Our gut microbiota plays a critical role in immune regulation, and what we eat directly affects this. Diets high in sugar and low in fiber fuel the overgrowth of harmful microbes, which produce lipopolysaccharides. Those who are involved with chronic alcohol abuse have diminished survival and function of their cells. Specifically, chronic alcohol abuse affects T and B cells in the adaptive immune system. T cells have the function to directly destroy infected cells or support other immune cells. However, alcohol abuse can hinder this function. How can alcohol harm T cells? 1. A condition of reduced T cells called lymphopenia occurs. 2. There is a disruption in T cell homeostasis due to decreasing mature T cells called naive T cells and increasing memory T cells. 3. There is an increase in the proportion of T cell activation, which causes chronic inflammation. 4. By increasing apoptosis in T cells, there is a higher sensitivity to activation-induced cell death. This is based on the downregulation of vitamin D receptors that increases reactive oxygen species and mitochondrial dysregulation. This ultimately causes T cell death and will weaken the immune system. Chronic alcohol abuse also affects the survival of B cells. B cells are needed to produce antibodies. How can alcohol affect B cells? 1. There is a decrease in peripheral B cells, which are white blood cells needed for immune responses. 2. There is also an imbalance between B2 B cells and B1 B cells, which causes a weak response to new antigens. When discussing chronic alcohol abuse, there is an increased risk of some important diseases. Alcohol liver disease is due to the oxidative stress leading to the production of antibodies that target the live-specific antigens. Gastroesophageal reflux disease, where the lining of the esophagus is damaged from acid reflux. And cardiomyopathy, where the heart muscle's contractility is reduced. Also, because alcohol is a carcinogen, there is an increase in cancer in the oral cavity, esophagus, colon, liver, breasts, and other areas. All of these diseases are also associated with chronic inflammation, therefore weakening the immune system. Immunity can be improved by exercising more, having adequate sleep, limiting alcohol consumption, taking multivitamins, and limiting stress by applying activities into your daily life such as meditation.